Hello.
You are watching Chewed Gum Live. It is not Wednesday. Sorry, it is for me. It is Tuesday, July 9th. I'm like looking at my computer screen. I'm in Finland, so the time difference is happening. But I am Eve, and I'm so excited that it's me and Alyssa, your regulars. Alyssa is a brilliant sex coach and human in general. And I talk shit about Christianity. That's my credentials.
Please. The way that you just things come to your brain so I literally can't even explain to you how much money I would pay to have your memory alone.
God, I don't know. I think that's a little bit of the OCD leftover that I've been working on in therapy for a long time. So I'm just harnessing it well right now.
Whatever. It makes you really good at arguing in a way that I could never. In a way where I literally, when people are arguing something with me and I can't remember a fact, I'm like, well, I'll just cry because I know I'm right, but I can't tell you why.
But that works too. Yeah. I mean, that's great.
Yeah. Everyone wants to see a grown woman cry.
Right. Obviously. How are you? Speaking of crying, how are things? How's life?
I'm good. Everything is good. Trying to think of anything interesting that's even been happening. It's been pretty chill. I am really sleepy because I'm getting my period in a couple of days. That's something we talk about on this show now. So, and
maybe next week should be our period show.
Oh my God.
Should we
consider
that?
I'm okay with doing it whenever. And actually, we weren't even going to talk about this today, but it's related. There was a study that Berkeley College did, and it's the first study that they have done on heavy metals in tampons, and they looked for 16 different metals, and they found all of them in tampons, and there were especially concerning amounts of lead and arsenic. And they tested both organic and non-organic tampons. There was more lead in the non-organic tampons, and there was more arsenic in the organic ones.
So we're just screwed no matter what, basically.
Pretty much. So
great.
I had made a TikTok, and I'll put it on Instagram tomorrow about the cup and the disc and period panties and stuff like that.
Oh,
just because things that are just maybe not laced with arsenic, perhaps.
We should talk all about this next week. I think that would be really cool. And every time you talk about anything related to the human body, I learn something. So I can only imagine what we would learn if we like pick this topic and hone in on it. So maybe you guys can even comment your questions on this episode that you have for period week for next week. I don't know. I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
Before we forget, also, please call in 720-619-2288. We would love to talk to you if you want to call in with questions about purity culture, about deconstructing from purity culture. If you want to tell us why you believe in a God and what God that is. If you want to tell us that you think God cares about our sex life or wants us to live under purity culture. Would love to hear your argument for that. But whatever it is, give us a call, 720-619-2288. And I feel like there was another, super chats, $5 or more. We will read those at the end of the show, which is quickly becoming, not just because you guys are supporting the show financially, which is much needed because we keep getting demonetized. But I just love like reading the comments, and I don't know. It's been one of my favorite parts at the end of the show. Also, I'm always like half asleep by that point, so I feel like I'm in the twilight zone. It's great.
But I feel like that's when we get to really like bond with the people who listen, because there are people who come up over and over again, and people will share like their personal experiences or just like their thoughts, and it's a nice way to be able to like feel closer to the people who are watching us every week, which is really nice.
I know, how are you, feeling Eve? Like how a little community.
It is, yeah.
I'm good. I am. I love being here so much. I'm in the countryside in Finland, in the middle of nowhere. We're recording an album, and it's so nice. The Fly, we'll see if she shows back up. Tinkle Bell, for those of you who were here last week. Probably she will.
Forgot about her.
But we have another friend that I'm just wondering if it might show up at some point. And it is a little mouse that lives in the studio. And we blocked off the hole, we think, but like the other day we could hear it. It's so tiny and so cute. And so we blocked off the hole, but not before it almost ran over my feet. And I like have it on video and I'm like screaming, and it's great. But so that's like the most exciting thing that's happened to me lately. I'm trying to think of anything else cool. Not really anything that interesting. Lots of hate online that I'm just like ignoring while I walk in fields of flowers. So it's great.
That's the way. Oh my God. Would it be like sipping blueberry tea, walking in fields of flowers in Finland, minding your business while someone in the comments is like, this damn woman. Like, okay.
That's my whole entire vibe right now. That is my vibe.
That's beautiful.
You and I were Instagramming each other back and forth because we were talking about our DMs or really our DM requests. Like, let's be very clear. This is like the depths of our DMs where we get these messages from guys saying all kinds of stuff. And it's like, what if we replied? What if we're like, yes, I will marry you. Absolutely. Yeah. You tell me when and where.
Oh,
I'm there. Yes, I will do that podcast with you. Sure.
Yeah, there is someone who has been messaging me. I think I might maybe have mentioned this before, but there's someone who's been messaging me on Instagram for like a couple of years in a way where it sounds like he's in conversation with me, which is so much scarier. Like every time I look, I'm like, it's so weird.
Yes.
It's like I'll post about having a headache and he'll be like, oh yeah, baby, like don't worry. When we have dinner later, I'll take care of it. And I'm like, who? What? I don't know you at all. It's really just bizarre times.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
Cannot do it.
Would prefer
I've
not
had those
to.
where it's like, good morning. Hope you're having another great day. I'm like, we're not in a relationship. This is not happening.
Not friends.
But to change the subject, and we have a couple of callers and we'll get to you guys in just a minute, but I think this is an interesting topic because maybe some people might even want to call, and we might piss some people off. I don't know. I just think it's an interesting conversation to have. I don't think I necessarily even have a fully formed opinion about it yet. But will you tell the class what you were telling me about earlier about that study on porn? I hope now we're not getting demonetized instantly because I said that, but whatever.
I'll use adult spicy video for
There we
that
go. Great.
first. We
Now that I
just
already said it.
using the word less. So
Mhm.
it was a lecture that I was listening to, and it was about if adult spicy video is actually like intrinsically bad, like if it is a problem that needs to be addressed. And the reason that
Like
it
for
came up, and
health
this was
or like mental health or both?
both, I think kind of both, but it was the reason that, like, I guess was this topic came up. I mean, this is a professor who like has made a lot of his career out of talking about that type of content. Like, I have, where is it? Oh, I have his book here. Where is it?
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And
I'm writing that down.
yeah, he's amazing. I like he works at the like he's part of the board for the program that I do. And so we get to
Yeah.
hear a lot of his lectures, and he's so smart. And I just like, I love hearing him talk about literally anything. But specifically this topic, because it's kind of his like bread and butter. And so he really was making the argument that any um, adult spicy video related issue is
Yeah.
a symptom of an unaddressed, isolated issue. So like
Makes
if
sense.
like yeah, and that to me makes a lot of sense too, because there are people who are able to consume that kind of content and not have like really terrible repercussions from it, or any repercussions at
Right.
all. The only thing is that that type of content, when that's replacing sex education, then
Mhm.
that's a problem, because that's our only expectation for like what those situations are going to be like. And we all well know that that's not, none of that
Right.
is how that should be. But I think I agree that it's really mostly um the other stuff underneath, and then the um corn related issue is a symptom of the rest.
Yeah. That makes sense.
What do you
I mean,
think?
my whole thing that makes sense to me, and obviously at the end of the day I just trust what data says, but I think it's about, like with anything in life, forming a healthy relationship with it, being educated, talking about it. I think when these things
Mhm.
become so taboo that people don't even talk about it. I've been in relationship with people who have a legitimate addiction, or where it takes them down like really dark interweb paths that, like you said, I think it was a symptom of another issue that would have come out somehow anyways.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think that's one of the sad things about purity culture is how you don't get to talk. It's just wrong and it's evil. But the thing is, you
Mhm.
can't thought police somebody. So at the end of the day, you can ban all porn, and somebody is going to see a picture of somebody's foot and they're going to get
Yeah,
off. And that's porn. You know what I mean?
right.
Like you literally can't ban porn because, or sorry, adult spicy time, adult videos, adult spicy videos, whatever we're calling it. You can't ban that because it's thought policing. I mean, you can't dictate what does it for some people and what doesn't, and what they're going to see visually. So, and for that, there will always be some form of supply. And I think the best thing we can do is make it as ethical as possible and have conversations so that people have a healthy relationship with it and that it doesn't turn into
Yeah,
a problem in their life, like anything can become.
100%. 100%. And there's a famous quote that a Supreme Court justice had said. It might be 2007. That's when this article is from, where
Mm-hmm.
they were I guess ruling something related to that type of content. I can't remember what it
Okay.
was now. I don't know if they were just trying to ban that content in general, but they had asked in that trial, like, what is pornography? Like, what can
Oh,
you,
yeah. How do
what
you
is,
even define
what,
that?
yeah. Because like you said, like it could be something where, like, if you take away the larger, what we know, like what we know it to be is at some
Yep.
point like seeing someone's ankle. Like that was like I think it's actually been debunked, but that was a thing about like the Victorian era, that like if you saw someone's ankle, it was like sexual.
Yeah.
And so so it could vary by such a great degree. And the Supreme Court justice said, "I know it when I see it," and that was
Oh,
like
I remember this.
Yeah, yeah. I need to. It was Jacobellis versus Ohio, but I don't remember exactly what they were trying to, um,
Ugh.
what they were trying to decide. But anyways, yeah, it is really interesting, and I posted that question on my Instagram story, and it's amazing to me how many people are immediately, yes, it's bad. Like, yes, it's bad, and here's my personal experience with it, where it was really bad, um,
Yeah.
and and it's unfortunate that people have had experiences like that, but we don't get any education on any of it.
Right. Yep. I think that's a huge part of it. Well,
Yeah.
if anybody wants to call and tell us why it's just straight up horrific and evil and wrong or the best thing ever or anything, you're welcome to do so. But we do have some callers already. Are you
Yes.
down to take one? Is there one in particular that you would prefer to take?
Not necessarily. Any of them.
Okay. We'll just start with the top. Daniel.
Right.
Let's see. Hey, Daniel, how are you?
Hi.
Hi
Doing
there.
pretty
Hi,
good.
How are you?
Daniel.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
I'm not really familiar with the voices that well. I'm hard of hearing, so I kind of have a hard time with voices. So I might accidentally call Eve Alyssa and Alyssa Eve, so that's my bad.
No
No
problem. I'll
worries
take it
at
as a
all.
compliment.
I was going to say the same thing. Someone needs to make a supercut of just like me and Eve accidentally flirting with each other for the entire
That's what we should.
15 minutes of Alyssa and Eve just flirting with each other. Anyways, I'm sorry, Daniel. What was the question that you had called in for?
So my question, I kind of messed up by trying to explain my question. But the question is, the best way that I could phrase it was on the male side, at least. If how can a father be able to give their son a male role model without going too far with the over masculinity, if that makes sense? Like the mother is too overly associated, the norm at least, um, feminine. So like, oh, I'm gonna make my daughter wear a dress, get her looking at associated women's things. Well, depending on the associated, granted, Western associated women's stuff, I'll be more specific on that. And the male one is like, oh, workout, do sports, construction, cars, and the like. The thing that I'm wondering is, how can you teach the guy to be strong, if that makes sense, without making them have the idea that, oh, they have to size up someone because you're being pushed back by someone else, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I understand what you're asking. This is Eve speaking. So I think that we've had this question asked a few times. And so maybe somebody in the comments can also refer you back to one of those timestamps then too, where we went into more depth. But, I think in general with kids, it's just being a good example by being a good human being to the best of your ability in general and not worrying so much about like, this is what it means to be this. It's, this is how I show my strength. How do you show yours? Or this is how I like to, I open the door or I don't, or whatever it is that you do. I think making it about yourself instead of like, this is how all men should be, or this is how all women should be, or even this is how all humans should be. I think there's just too much pressure put on like, I have to show you this defined, exact, perfect human being. And you can't do that. You can just show who you are and how you got there and the thoughts behind it. And I think it's when, and this is what I've said in past calls, it's when you start really trying to be like, this is good masculinity, that it's overthought. I think putting too much thought into it is where it goes south, because then you are starting to make it out to be something bigger than it is. I don't know if I'm being clear at all, but maybe Alyssa has more clarification to add to what I'm trying to say.
Well, I think no, I understand and also agree with everything that you're saying. That it's mostly about just teaching your kids to just be good people overall, because ultimately, your children will, if you allow them to be themselves and explore all of the things that they are interested in, they'll, someone in the chat said something like, they'll teach you who they are. And that's more important, I think, because like there's nothing morally or ethically wrong with a person who is like a cisgendered male who might be feminine in like whatever some of their hobbies or whatever. Like I think allowing them to just explore everything, like that's something that I wish I had more support in when I was younger. Just exploring everything that I enjoyed, whether I was good at it or bad at it. If I enjoyed it, let's do it. Let's have a good time. And let's, because you only get to do that kind of stuff when you're a kid. Like you just try everything and just do it for fun and whatever. I mean, you can do it as an adult, but it's not the same as when you're a kid. And so I think as long as you're allowing them to explore who they are and then just making sure that they're good, well-balanced people in general, like the rules for women being well-balanced, good, honest, kind people are the same for men, women, non-binary folk. It's the same for everybody. I would just like take the pressure off of yourself of wanting to support your child in a masculine framework, and you'll do your job. Like, and then you did it. And they'll grow up to be someone who is confident and happy and unique. And people, like, I really feel like the older I get, the more I wish that I understood the value of uniqueness when I was young, because we all are so desperate to want to fit in. And I wish that I just like was really understood. And I don't know that there's any like parenting that could do that, but I wish I really understood like how much more beneficial it is to actually do what you want and what you enjoy. But anyway, I kind of went off on like a little bit of a tangent there, but I hope that made sense, Daniel.
I think it made sense for both of you. The thing that I definitely didn't want to come off across was that like they had to be like the gender that they I guess look like, if that's the best way for me to phrase it right now. Like that's something my mother's kind of guilty of. She kind of inserted. I'm adopted, so I was adopted from China. My mother's Caucasian from Texas, so her mindsets were very different than, I guess you could say, a native raised Chinese born would have been. And so, but she inserted certain mindsets into me when it came to like being a male. She kind of went a little too far in regards to like, I guess the trope of like protect women, and I think, and it's still, I can't say I still follow that rule, because the mindset I've been trying to get is I don't care what gender you are, it's whether or not you're a good person, and that'll be what I base it off of. So I didn't want to come across that like, oh, my son has to be a man, because I went to like a construction educational course, and granted there weren't that many girls, it was probably 2 or 3 out of 10 of us, but even so, they were fun, they were kind. I didn't really have an issue with them, although because it was hard of hearing, that was kind of hard to wear a helmet, so it kind of got in the way. But they wore clothes like me. They wore jeans, boots. They had an attitude like me, kind of, which is problematic, to be honest. So regardless, I didn't want to come across as like they had to fit a gender criteria in order to be, or gender associate criteria per se. Because I wanted to be a hair salon when I was a kid, but my mom said no, and she wanted me to become an engineer instead, which I think an engineer is mostly more associated with guys. But yeah, I do believe that like, yeah, if I'm not a father, it's just that was just the situation I brought up. So, like raising your child in a neutral manner without. I wrote this down on a piece of paper as you both were talking. Be an advisor instead of a guide, because the guide is kind of directing you where to go, versus the advisor is kind of giving you some information, some personal experience, but not
Yeah,
dictating
just
what
showing
you do and
support.
where to go. If that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, so like, oh,
Yeah.
well, when I was a kid in the 60s, no offense, Mom, that was the 60s and that
Yeah.
was Texas. I'm in Washington and it's
Yeah.
2010 right
Yeah.
now. That's not the same. Sorry.
Right.
But
Right.
it is informational. Like, oh, when I was a kid, we had to walk for long periods of hours to go to school. So intern did this versus me. I take a bus. Okay, the bus existed, but depending where you live, there weren't any buses because of how expensive it was. So mm, generational difference. But
Yeah.
I think that makes sense when it came to like try to be try to be an advisor to the child, but not dictate. I'll just say child for this situation. Advise the child like, oh, you like boots? Well, what kind of boots do you like? You like rain boots, fishing boots, which are kind of built bulky. I've worn them. What do you like? And then let them do their own thing. And if they don't like it, then they don't like it. And then they move on
Yeah.
because I had a very short attention span and I did the same thing. I jumped across many different things, admittedly. So,
Yeah, I think that's so great. The best parents I've witnessed, and I've actually worked professionally with kids my entire adult life up until last year when I quit. The best parents I've witnessed with the healthiest, happiest kids, and then I've got to see some of them even growing up, are the ones where the parents just didn't make a big deal about anything except for making sure their child felt loved and supported
Mm.
by them. So they didn't make a big deal if one kid was hyper fixated on this for a bit or was struggling in school with this or whatever. They just, how can we make you feel supported and loved right now? And that I think is the number one thing to put your intention on. And not, then you don't have to worry about all the other stuff because otherwise you do get in your head. So, anyways, thank you so much for calling, Daniel. I really appreciated the question and I hope it was helpful to other people too. And I love that you're thinking about stuff like that. And I'm so sorry that you didn't get to experience that growing up, but I love that you are able to look back and recognize how you weren't supported and how you would have liked to be, because that can be healing in itself. So,
Yeah.
was that Eve or Alyssa?
that was Eve.
That was
Yes.
Eve.
Sorry, I should have said that.
Okay, thank you, Eve.
Of course. Thank you so much, Daniel. I hope you have a great evening.
You too. Have a good show. I'll be watching.
Thank you. Awesome.
Thanks, Daniel.
I feel like my lag is longer when I'm over here on the other side of the world, which I don't know. Maybe it's not. Even just the lag for like clicking to like drop calls. Maybe it's always like that. Maybe I'm still just really bad at this.
It's the lag of all the things with this like show that I wish. I mean, actually, there's not really anything. The one thing that I wish we could fix is the lag, because then we end up talking over each other and like, or there's like an awkward like, it's. I wish that there was a way to like close that gap, but I don't know if there's ever gonna be one.
Me too.
So
I just did a show. I did the Sunday show with Matt Dillahunty, and I'm so annoyed because in the comments people are like, "I wish Matt would shut the fuck up and let Eve talk," and I'm like, "Look." Matt has his style and everything, but Matt and I are friends. And if I want to talk, I will talk. And I don't need like somebody to let me talk. There is just a lag and we interrupt each other. And because they were like, oh, he interrupts her and she doesn't interrupt him. I was like, please go watch Chewed Gum and watch how many times I interrupt Alyssa. I interrupt Alyssa so much.
But we're interrupting each other all the time, and then they'll also, in an effort to not interrupt each other, we'll just like there'll be like 4 seconds of us just like
right, just smiling at each other,
literally trying so hard to be polite. It's just so silly. It's so funny. It's also so funny. Well, it's funny that like I'm sure in those comments, like as they were typing it, they probably were thinking like in defense of you, and in that moment you're like, oh, I can interrupt if I want.
Right, totally. Well, and Matt has just been doing this for so many years that he knows the way to handle it is you just keep talking. And so, which is what we're calibrating and figuring out. It's like even with a caller, like we interrupt callers all the time, which I saw comments saying that we interrupt callers too much. Yeah, I hate it too. The lag makes it so annoying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Technology has not evolved that far yet, so.
Yeah, and also sometimes, like, interrupting the callers is unfortunately, like, if people are rambling on like, we have to keep the calls, like we're already at 7:30, like, hypothetically, we could take 2 more calls, and, like, then we have 3 calls for an entire hour and a half show. You know, it's like we have to keep it we have to keep it
Going.
moving too. So it's, I get it, and I'm sure it's annoying sometimes, but we're doing our best.
Sorry, guys. Speaking of, I have some announcements. We have I don't know why I'm pointing back here to this creepy corner. I'm just waving my hand. The announcements are not back there. They're here. The Hang Up tomorrow on Wednesday with Matt Delante and David Fitzgerald, and then Takis on Thursday with Josie and Arden. The Sunday show is going to be Matt and Aaron Adair, and then we have Skep Talk on Monday with John Gleason and Aaron Raw, which leads us back to Tuesday, my favorite day of the week, because Alyssa and I will be back here. And spoiler alert, I don't know. I will have another break for a couple of weeks after that, because that's when I will have to be going on vocal rest and stuff, because we'll hopefully be recording vocals for the album that I'm here, and other fun projects that I can't wait to tell you guys about. But I will miss you all, and I am already really upset of whoever gets to host with Alyssa and that it's not me. But I will enjoy being asleep from 2 to 4. Yeah. That part will be nice.
I am so excited for you to not have to wake up at that time. And also, I'm really excited for the album. Like, I think it's going to be so cool. And it's such like a good experience to do it where you are. So, we'll muscle through, and it'll be sad without you. But then we get a really good reward at the end of it, because we get the music at the end.
Yes, I will try to give you guys some spoilers. You guys can call in 720-619-2288. We'll try to get through. Maybe we can go through these calls pretty quickly. And super chats, $5 or more. We will read them at the end. Still no sign of Tinkerbell, the fly friend who shows up, but she's been showing up at 3 a.m. So let's see. Yeah. I'm like, I really think it will happen again.
She does have some time. We have a question about the net behind you. And please explain.
This is actually, I don't know if you guys can see, it's a mic. It is actually a microphone. So
okay.
I need to like give you guys a studio tour someday, but back here, you can't see it. Wait, I can shine my phone flashlight. This is going to look like a horror movie. No, you can't even see it. Anyways, there's a cute cozy corner back there, and it's like a bunch of pillows and everything, and then there's the microphone right there. And I don't want to move it because it's like rigging all of this. So that's where I record vocals. Like right now we're just doing scratch stuff, so I can just sit there on a pillow and like lazily record, which is why my partner is smart enough to set me up over there. So that's why it looks super creepy. Sorry that I didn't move it. I did buy a cute IKEA. I went to IKEA in Finland, which is almost like going to IKEA in Sweden. It was really great.
Was it different?
Anyways, kind of. It was like even more IKEA-ish, if you can imagine.
I can't, but I will take your word for it.
It's just like very Nordic, like super, super Nordic.
Okay.
I should go back there and like make a TikTok about being there.
Yeah. You need to post some more like pictures and stuff of what it's like in there.
I will. I definitely will. Should we get to these callers real quick?
Yes, we should.
Okay. I'm thinking
sorry.
The second caller, Min, I think. Hopefully we're saying her name right. Have we taken a call from Min before?
Yes, we have.
Okay. Actually, we have an agnostic. I know we give theists priority. Do we give agnostics priority? Okay.
I think that call might be interesting. It might be interesting.
Let's find out. Let's see.
Okay.
Okay, and then we'll talk to Min. Keith. Hey Keith, how are you?
Hello, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Oh, I'm good, yes. I'm kind of nervous. This is my first time calling in, and I love this show so much.
Oh, well, thanks so much for watching. We'll be nice. So the question on here, I'm not fully understanding it, so I'll let you phrase it. But in case there's like multiple thoughts here, let's maybe pick one and go with that one. So what did you want to call about?
Well, I mainly want to talk about your guys' opinions on hijab and how that relates to the importance of, like, you know, let's just say men practicing self-control, because, you know, in Islam, like, some people say, like, you know, the reason they have women wear hijab or niqab is because, like, they want to, like, lower, like, temptation, I guess you can say. And I just want to know what's your guys' opinion on, like, you know, hijab, niqab, and the importance of, like, you know, practicing self-control by both genders, or like by everyone, basically, and not just one over the other. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think right off the bat, I just have like a couple of short thoughts, and then Alyssa will probably come at us with some facts or something. But first of all, how much self-control is being practiced if you're requiring the other person to cover themselves? To me, that's like kind of the opposite. Also, what are you going to think about the most if someone tells you not to think about the white elephant in the corner, you know? I
Right.
fully support women doing whatever they want to do. If a woman wants to wear a head covering in any religion or outside of a religion, I do it. If she's doing it because she wants to, and if she's fully informed and basing that off of reality. If she's doing it because she's been told that that will somehow protect her, when we don't have, as far as I know, any studies that show that that is going to help her, that's a bummer. I don't think that it should ever be a woman's responsibility to cover herself in order to support men's self-control, because that's not self-control. That's now shifting the responsibility onto somebody else. So, anyways, that's my quick thoughts. Alyssa, what about you?
I agree with everything that you said, and I think the with head coverings and hijab and all of the, like, there's such a cultural and there's such an importance to that for the people who engage in that dress, that, you know, it's a hard thing for me to talk about as like a white westernized woman and feel like I have any real, you know, like ground to stand on. But I think, like, from a more, like, taking a step back from a more general lens, anytime, like Eve said, anytime that we're placing like really firm restrictions on people, it pretty much always backfires. And the example that I think about, and it's like sort of related, is for states that have comprehensive, medically accurate sex education, those teenagers and into young adults have less sex overall and have sex later in life. And so it feels like a moment where it's like, okay, when you give people all of the information and you give them you take away the taboo from the situation, you get really great results because you've given them the power to make their own decision, and you also have taken away the power from the from the taboo of it all. So I think, like, you know, even when I think about like how much abuse happens in Catholic churches and, like, you know, the behavior of many of the priests that we hear about, it's a similar thing where it's like you've placed these people under such intense control, and we don't know if they were like that before and this was a means to get their behaviors sort of in check, or if the system that they're under has created such like insane restrictions that now they've kind of like taken what they can get and are making really inappropriate choices. I think in general, the taboo is something that people are always going to be really curious about. So I don't think that it works the way that some people think that it does. And like Eve said, it's not really you're having the burden be on the women in that circumstance. Like, they have to control a man's thoughts by hiding every single piece of them, which then at that point it's like, okay, and then if someone sees their literal ear, that's a problem. How is that better? How is that better than having people, be walking around in maybe less clothing, but, we're a little bit more desensitized to parts of the body that are not sexual parts of our body. Like our ears and our elbows and our arms are not sexual, and so to have like a sexual implication on them is not great. And at the same time, again, like the hijab is something that is spiritual and cultural, and like I don't really feel like I can say much about what that experience is like, because I know that there are lots of women who truly prefer it. But in terms of modesty, I think that we can see a lot of examples where modesty ends up sort of backfiring, and that concealing and making everything taboo just continues to backfire. What do you think,
Yeah,
Keith?
I agree with it. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. And I feel like, in terms of what you brought up about, certain body parts showing that are not sexual, like, I feel like, the reason why that's like part of the reason as to why I asked this question in the first place is because, like, I get, comments or like read comments from a lot of Muslim men who, try to correct, other Muslim women from showing, certain body parts that are like they're showing by accident because they say it entices temptation. I'm just like, you can't help it, right? Like that's just anatomy. Like women cannot help the way that their bodies are built, or are naturally, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like something seem an elbow or like an ear, like you said, like, or for example, you show too much skin below your neck. Like that's kind of I've seen people call people out or call women out on that as well.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of hijab, I feel like yes, I agree with what you guys said. That is up to the woman to wear hijab if they want to. But if you want to be honest, I don't think it's very effective of protecting women from sexual harm.
Mm-hmm.
Because for example, in Egypt, I think they still do, or they did have a really bad problem with women getting sexually assaulted, even though they did wear hijab.
Mm-hmm.
So but I guess some women want to wear it because it makes them comfortable and feel safe, maybe, which is wonderful. But the real question is, does it actually protect you?
Yeah.
For example, does a hijab and a niqab protect you compared to let's say a taser or mace or something like that? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't think what anyone wears in either direction protects anyone more or less from what if someone's wanting to violate another person's boundaries, it does not matter what they're wearing.
Yep.
And I also think in the same way that people will say was she if a girl gets groped at a bar or something, well, how was she dressed? And they're assuming that she was wearing something skimpy or whatever. I think that there's people that just go out into the world with shitty intentions and they don't care about the bodily autonomy of others. And I also wonder if seeing somebody who is modest also almost feels antagonistic to people who are wanting to go out into the world and cause harm to others. I would imagine that that's not super uncommon, which is really gross and really unfortunate.
Yeah, it is a very gross and unfortunate reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think this is super interesting, and I would love to know, for people who have grown up in an environment maybe where a hijab was more common, even if they don't wear them themselves or whatever. Any of I would love to know more about how they feel about that. Yeah, because I get the sense that for a lot of women, it is sort of like just a part of their like comfort now to have that kind of attire going. But yeah, I don't know. I like this topic. I appreciate you calling in with it.
Yes. I forgot to ask, like, so what do you guys think in terms of, like, how that relates to, or how the issue, or like the controversy around hijab and covering up for women relates to, men practicing self-control who obviously don't want to practice it? Possibly. Yeah. Like,
yeah. I mean, I think that's on the men. It's on men to be able to find some sort of help with that, because it's just like, regardless of what somebody is wearing, you are not entitled to literally anything about anything from another human being. It's just like it's
right.
so crazy. It's crazy when people make the argument of like, oh, what were they wearing? Like, you're nuts. It literally doesn't matter. It's just,
Exactly,
it's just
right.
so crazy. It's so crazy. It doesn't matter on either end of the spectrum.
Yeah, if
Right.
when modesty is practiced for protection, then automatically the responsibility has now been shifted to the potential victim, instead of just humans in general are supposed to practice personal responsibility, which includes not taking advantage of somebody else's autonomy. So, it is a silly thing. If a man requires a woman to be covered, then he doesn't have self-control. That is not self-control at all. But yeah, great topic. Thanks so much, Keith, for calling in. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Yes. Goodbye.
Have a good night, Keith. Guys, Bonnie is here, and she has a tooth that is about to fall out. She looks like a Flintstone. I know.
Wait, why is her tooth falling out?
Old.
Oh my God.
Because she's old. I know.
I don't know why this breaks my heart.
No, she's chilling.
Bonnie like me in Paris when my tooth just like broke and I had to go to the French
Literally. No, really. It's like hanging out of her mouth. But she's eating like normal, acting normal, so fine. So me and my vet are family friends. And so I just keep sending pictures and videos of her with her tooth hanging out. And he's just like, looks good. And I'm like, are you sure, Dr. Russ? Are you sure? But I don't know.
Oh, will you please like post when she loses? Can the tooth fairy visit her? Like when the tooth falls out, can you make sure that the tooth fairy comes and brings her a doggy treat?
I will. That's really cute. We're gonna put it under your pillow, Bonnie. Her little tooth. It's so queasy. Anyway, she cracks me up. That was a super interesting conversation from Keith. I appreciated that back and forth.
I don't know why I thought that was going to be a debate, but it sounds like Keith was just on the same page.
Yeah.
I was kind of excited. I was kind of ready to be like, no, this is not okay.
I was so nervous.
The best and worst thing about our show is that everyone's just so nice. And even the most controversial calls we have, aside from like, there was like a 2-week time period where we had like Mr. British or whoever that was, and the other guy telling us St. Michael. The fact that I can remember these shows how irritated I was, like telling us that we have to wear makeup to be professional. Aside from some of those calls, everyone's so nice, which I love. It's so great. It's just like, I'm like prepared because you never know what you're going to get. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I'm always like, what's this call going to be? And then you guys are just nice and I love it.
I know. I was a little worried when we were going to pick up that call that it was going to be like a debate and it was going to be like a spicy call. And so kind, so chill, and a nice little chat. Yeah, it was nice. Should we take another?
I think so. You want to pick one? We said we were going to take men.
Yeah. Let's take men. Okay. Hi, Min.
Hello, Lisa. Hello, Eve.
How are you doing?
Hey there. How are you?
I'm pretty good, thank you. How about you?
Good. We're good. We're good. We're hanging out. So do you want to explain your topic today?
Yeah, so something I would like to ask you, I think specifically for you is because I listened to one of the previous episode when the one I called discussed with you and Jimmy about the hookup culture, and it makes me think that this seems to relate to the sexual liberation movement since the 80s. So I wonder, like, I guess, like, I suppose you hold the secular humanist view, right?
Yes,
I don't know.
I think so.
I kind of, but I don't think I'm putting that whole label on it because it just depends. I have such varying opinions about each specific thing. But as far as I guess I just need like a more specific question.
Yeah. So the reason I asked you is that I wonder, like, like, when under secular humanism, like, we should advocate for freedom, and that includes sexual freedom and bodily
Sure.
autonomy. Something I agree with that. However,
Yeah.
like I wonder, like, how far, like, we should go without fall into the downside of when you resort into, like, something like hookup, casual sex is gonna had a negative impact on people well-being. So I wonder, in that context, and do you think that the freedom we should have limited until like the well-being is compromised?
So the problem is I don't know how we would I don't disagree that things just like we were talking about adult content earlier. I think that we need education and we need people to be informed, and I want people to be empowered to make choices for themselves, and if that means having casual sex, that's great. I do want them to be educated on potential I don't know if we want to call them consequences on sexual health. I want them to be empowered in everything that entails, which to me would mean education and personal responsibility, all of that. My problem is I don't know how we would put limitations on that, without interfering with somebody else's bodily autonomy. So, I don't believe in putting limitations on something like that because to me that would, imply some sort of legal something or another. If you mean maybe you can clarify, maybe you mean in, the
Yeah.
messaging that we're putting out there, but I don't know that I'm hearing a lot of and maybe I'm just living in La La Land, or maybe it's because 'cause I'm in the middle of Finland. No, I'm kidding. I'm not hearing a lot of messaging that's just like, "You should just go, like, sleep with 100 people a day and nothing matters and it doesn't matter." I'm not hearing that messaging. I am hearing a lot of like, "Hey, body count does not have to ultimately define anything about you. It doesn't have to have negative connotations because it doesn't. It really, I think, is such a personal case by case basis. And that's why education matters. That's why I know you said this question was more for me, but honestly, Alyssa's going to have some actual statistics for us. But I just
Yeah.
think more than putting limitations, I would rather put more education out there. And I'd rather empower people to um, maybe those that are going to casual sex instead of like therapy or instead of whatever it is they need to address personally, like helping them with that because people do that with all kinds of things. People go to food, people go to TV and just shut out for a whole day. People go to all kinds of things that are totally normal and healthy and part of life, and can overuse them or use them improperly. So it's just about, I'm saying the exact same thing over and over again, so I'm going to shut up now. It's about education to me. So anyways, I would love to hear Alyssa's thoughts though.
I so all of the stuff that I consume around sexuality is all going to be very sex positive, and so I want people to have the sexual experiences that they want to have. And whether that means engaging in, hooking up with people, a variety of people as often as they want to, as many as they want to, then, and they're happy to do that and they're doing that in a safe and responsible way, then I'm happy to have them do that. If they want to have long-term relationships, or they want to have polyamorous relationships, or they want to have open relationships, like, I think one of the things that is interesting about sexuality and relationships is we've tied so much moral value to all of it, when in reality there is no moral black and white moral value for sexuality. Like, there is nothing morally right or wrong about having sex with a person. And it's the same thing with like with sex work too. Like, there's nothing morally wrong about sex work. What we end up really taking from this is the social consequences, like the social consequences that we have for engaging in hookup culture and, finding out that this person has a body count that's higher than you expected it to be, or what you want it to be. It's all these social consequences. And the reason that those consequences are primarily social is because those are the only consequences that exist. Like, there really isn't anything wrong with having a lot of partners. There's nothing wrong with having multiple partners as long as you're doing it safe and it's consensual. So I want people to be able to explore the type of connections that they want to have with other people. And we know, like, people who have had multiple partners before they're married have happier, longer marriages if they decide that that's something that they want to do later as well. So there are benefits to having multiple partners. We learn something from every partner that we have, whether it's a sexual partner or it's not. And it could even just be the thing that we learn is, this is what I don't want anymore. But it's important because we as human beings, we learn from experience a lot more than we learn from like reading it, and we don't know until we try. And so it's important to allow people to explore everything that they want to explore. And there's always going to be people who are going to want to prioritize monogamous relationships. Like, that is far and away the majority of the way that we socialize around sexuality, is looking for monogamous relationships. There might be like a period of time though when we're in our 20s and maybe like 30s where maybe that's not the case. But human beings love to find a little like tribe, for lack of a different word. I feel like that maybe that's not a PC word. I'm not sure, but like I'm thinking of like cavemen people. Like, they like to find their group, and that's their little group that they stick together with. And we like that feeling of having a community and having people feel very close to us, and the feeling of being known by another person is really important to us as human beings. And so however people feel that fulfillment is, I'm happy to support them in that. But I do understand what you're saying. It is, it's challenging for sure. It's challenging to navigate.
Yeah, Alyssa, I think the thing you just brought up about the moral judgment on people who engage in something outside the heteronormativity is something. Yeah, it's that is the problematic thing. But for me, like, when I bring it up, it's something I refer to is the well-being of people who engage in that, and because I read a two study on this subject, and there are 4 articles written on it. So 2 of them coming from Harvard University Department of Health, in which they say that for married people who come in a long-term monogamous relationship, they tend to have better health, better lower blood pressure, and they recover faster if they catch a illness like cancer. And they also they are less likely to engage in risky behavior. And for men, their testosterone level is below the lethal dose. So it's better in the long term. And another study from the National Institute of Health on LGBT people who are married, it say that people who are married in the LGBT community, they are less likely to experience distress, and also they are less likely to have physical disability or like or physical ailment, and overall they are better off. So so I think that the problem I see, in the secular or atheistic movement, like they don't emphasize this value too much. But they accept, or I would say like celebrate the casual hookup or one night stand, etc. I don't know if that's a good thing, because when I listen to Matt about his stand about morality, it's about well-being. So should we not advocate for that instead of think that's not necessarily good for our well-being?
Well, they're also sorry, go ahead.
I think part of my issue, though, is similar to when I hear studies talking about, people that don't have sex before marriage end up staying married longer. Well, here's my problem. How healthy is that relationship? Staying married doesn't necessarily help. And so my thoughts about these studies, which I would have to go learn more about, but just right off the jump, what I'm thinking is, how many of those people that have been, that we're comparing to and saying, oh, look, these people that stayed in monogamous relationships that had less sex outside of this relationship, they have healthier lives. How many of the other people were they facing consequences because of how society treats people who have more sex or who have casual sex, or whatever? How are their doctors maybe treating them differently or not taking them seriously so much when it comes to pain or different things? How are their families treating them? What's mental health situations? I don't think we can just look at those studies point blank and say, oh, obviously this means having casual sex is less healthy for you. I do think there's other contributing factors that I'm interested in learning more about, or asking Alyssa to do that work for me. But she's probably already done it. But that's why I don't feel comfortable advocating for, either a hookup culture, which I don't even know how much I believe in, or purity culture. I feel comfortable advocating for people to make choices based off of hopefully a lot of education, and to not be shamed for whatever decisions they end up making that don't harm others. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, and I think it's about not shaming people for whatever choices they want to make, because although those people in those marriages are reporting things that way, it's possible that they actually would also be happier had they discovered polyamory when they were in their 20s. And we just don't know. And so I think the most important thing is for people to be able to make their own choices. And who knows, maybe there are people who are engaging in hookup culture, and later in life they do want to get married, but this is just where they're at right now. This is like how they're wanting to arrange their relationship right now. And there's, in the same way that there might be studies of people being married having some measures of like success, there's so many metrics to measure happiness and success and satisfaction in relationships that it's hard to get a holistic lens on that just from like a few studies. And there are studies about people in open relationships, older adults being in open relationships that are happier than ones that are in closed monogamous ones. And so, I think the important thing is to allow people to make the choice, because while for some people, monogamy is going to be what works best for them, it's just not going to work best for everybody. And the vast majority, like 99% of people, are going to end up in, as of right now, are going to end up in traditional monogamous partnered relationships. The people who are choosing to make these like sort of what feels like alternative choices for us right now, like polyamory, open relationships, hookup culture, whatever it is, that's a very small minority of people who are doing that long term. For most people, it's going to be just sort of like a moment in their life where right now that's what they need. And later down the road, maybe they'll look for that, like that more traditional partnership. But something that's interesting too is that human beings were not always successful with monogamy. We have historically been a community-based species. And so monogamy is a relatively new invention for us. And so it works, I think, and the happiness that people are finding is in part, and I think this is kind of what Eve was saying too, it works, and these people are finding happiness because our entire society is built around that nuclear family structure. So they're going to have a lot of the benefits of how our society is built for that type of lifestyle. But we haven't, like, human beings as a species have not been historically monogamous throughout our time. And we just sort of invented that over time. But that hasn't always been the case. So I think the most important thing is to just allow people the choice and give people the reason for being loudly supportive of all of these choices is so that people who will be happiest in alternative relationships have the freedom and the support to be able to explore them. And they also can find information on how to do those things in a safe and careful, or not careful, I guess, thoughtful way. But there's something for everybody, basically.
So, Alyssa, if you don't mind, I would like to bring up just one more point with you. And if because I DM you on Instagram about the conversation you asked me about, the researcher talking about, how hookup culture harm people or hurt or help people. And so I don't have the first-hand information, so I just take this as the secondary information from them because they are sex researchers, so maybe they know more things than I do. So in that conversation, one researcher said that how far we as a society have to progress towards the sexual liberation without harming women's mental health. And she pointed out that the more progressive we become, it seems like mental health of women do not become better. And one of the panelists responded saying that that we understand how evolution works on men and women a bit differently when it comes to casual sex. So we had to proceed to guarantee liberty for everybody, but we do it with caution. We don't fall into the trap that because we've had to go against nature, therefore we're going to become miserable. And from my understanding that I begin to understand why women in general tend to respond to casual sex differently from men. That they're less likely to engage in it, and they don't seem to do better compared to men, I guess, because that's how they're
I would really have to see these studies because it's so funny. In my experience, even in my personal experience and in a lot of my girlfriends, in casual hookups, it tends to end up being the men that seem to be more emotionally, I don't know, impacted by it. I don't know, maybe myself and my friends are rare cases, but it's been no big I don't know. I have to see those studies because I don't know that there's actually science to women being more emotionally disturbed or however we want to phrase it by casual sex. So I'm sorry I haven't seen if you send it on Instagram, my DMs are insane, but you're welcome to try to if you send me another message tonight, I'll go look and it should hopefully come to the top. So
if send it to me again too, and I'll look if you haven't sent it to me already. But I also want to be mindful that there are a lot of these random associations that are the Association for Family Support, whatever, and they're specifically Christian-funded research groups. And so they don't always conduct the most honest research because they're kind of like feeding into and I'm not saying that that's what these are from, but it's just an interesting thing to study because I've never and I've done this like continuing education on sex and sexuality for 3 years, and I've never really heard anything about the women being more affected by that. And there actually are some interesting studies about how like the gendered brain thing can be a myth in some ways, and in other ways people find that there's big difference between the like cisgender male and female brains. But it's so interesting because I see research that supports both, and it almost feels like no matter what, someone has like a vested interest in what's going on. But yeah, send us those studies because I'm curious to see them. I think ultimately the biggest thing at the end of the day is allowing people the choice, and they can decide how they feel.
And to not shame them.
And to not shame them because we learn from experience. And so it's the same thing about like when we were saying that if you tell someone not to think about a white elephant, they're going to think about a white elephant. If you tell people you should only sleep with your husband and that should be your primary focus is finding a husband, they're going to start to get curious about everything else. So just allow them to be curious without the shame. Allow them to explore and decide for themselves what works best for them, because ultimately at the end of the day, like what everyone else does in their relationship is not our business.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that I agree with you. Yeah.
You know?
I think
so. Like,
and in terms of what you were saying about, you know, as secular humanists or whatever we may say, what if our standard for morality is well-being, I still think that we can advocate for this is not the way I want to say this. We can talk about a sex-positive culture and still advocate for well-being, because I'm not advocating for people to go hurt others. I'm advocating for people to do what they want to do with their sex lives as long as they're not hurting other people's well-being. So that's where I have to draw the line around what I support and what I don't, because I can't thought police someone. I can't predict if this casual sex is going to hurt this individual or not. But we can look and see, like, okay, are they being responsible? Are they being safe when it comes to potential STDs that would impact somebody else? You know, that's what I can advocate for, which is, like I said, education. That's so important. But at the end of the day, it is that person's choice as far as anything that's going to impact them and what they're okay with and what they can and can't handle and what they're willing to risk and find out if they can and can't handle it. So, but I, again, love this conversation. I really appreciate you, men. And yeah, maybe Alyssa and I can dive into this more on another episode. And I think it would be a really good conversation even to post for other people. Like, should we be advocating for abstinence, or maybe we'll put something like that as the title, and we'll have a whole episode about it. But thank you so much for calling.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Min.
Have a great evening.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh God, sorry, Min. I cut him off. I didn't mean to do that. I am going to look into studies on hookup culture, and literally when I looked up study on hookup culture, because that's how I'll remember to actually look it up later. The first thing that came up is the Institute for Family Studies. I guarantee that's funded by a Christian organization. And it's confronting the toll of hookup culture, transforming hookup culture, a review of American hookups. I promise you, I can almost guarantee there's
a bias.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Anywho.
Well, we have a theist caller, which probably will end up being the last call that we get to. So you guys can get your $5 or more super chats in, and we'll read those when we're done with this call. And this theist caller, it says, doesn't think we live in a purity culture, which I'm just going to go ahead and say I don't think we do either. So I don't know if that's what we're going to talk about. I grew up in purity culture, but I think that's because I grew up in evangelical church where they were actively teaching purity culture. So I don't know if there's like some confusion, but we'll find out. So let's talk to Jake. Hey, Jake, how are you?
Hi, yeah. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I don't know if you heard what I said right before we had you come on.
Yeah, I did. Like, you don't think we live in a purity culture either.
Yeah.
Which, like, I definitely don't think we live in a purity culture. I think, and I don't even think we live in a hookup culture. I think we live
It
in a
also depends on who's the
promiscuity culture.
we. It depends on who the we is that you're talking about. Are you talking about the Western world? Are you talking about Canada? Are you talking about the
Yeah,
US? Are you talking
yeah,
like
the
which
West.
parts of
Like,
the US? Because it changes also. So we're like super generalizing right now, which is cool to do. I just want to be on the same page on who we're generalizing.
yeah, like, I think generally, like, the West or whatever, like North America. I mean, I don't think Canada is that different than the U.S. in terms of culture, but I do think we live in a promiscuity culture, and I also think we live in a not a hookup culture because most men aren't actually hooking up with women. So you have maybe like 10% of men who are hooking up with like 90% of the women. And that's actually really sad because
do you have resources for that?
Like, I don't have them on me. But
Because that's
I
like
mean,
those are
according to, like,
massive numbers that I would definitely need to see something for.
yeah, like, if
But
you
I
look
want to
at
go
like
back to
statistics, like, for example, like Bumble and Tinder, like, you would see that, like, the findings that they came out with was that the majority of men swiped right on women, but the majority of women only swiped right on like 10% of the men, or
all you
something
said
really
there is
low,
that
like maybe even lower.
women are more picky with their choice
That feels
in
like it would be
partners.
that feels like it would make for the opposite result. Like they would be seeing less
That
people than the men are because the men are just swiping on
and that
freaking
doesn't
anybody.
yeah, and that doesn't tell us how many people are actually hooking up or anything. But I want to go back to what you initially said. You said you think that this is a
I mean,
promiscuous culture. And that's an interesting word to use right off the bat. But I want to know what you think. Like, how are you defining promiscuous?
like, basically, like, sleeping with like multiple partners without actually being in a committed relationship or like a marriage. But like, I wouldn't even say marriage. I would just say like a committed relationship.
Why is
So you
that
think
a
you're
wrong
saying this is a
choice?
culture? Yeah, are you saying that's a wrong choice? Or are you just saying, oh, we're in a culture now where people have sex outside of marriage?
I mean, we are in a culture that where people that have sex outside marriage. We also are in a culture where people have sex outside a committed relationship, where people are having sex with multiple partners.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
Why is that a bad thing though?
Why? Well, first off, I mean, there's multiple reasons, but like for women, there are also studies for women that they don't end up, they end up getting divorced later on in life because
Why is
Women
they
get
divorce
slept with a
bad?
lot
divorced.
of men.
But
Also
why
you
is
said
Sorry?
divorce
you said
bad?
women you also said women get divorced. It's two people getting divorced.
who's divorcing?
No, but
But
the
also
women are.
why is
Yeah,
divorce
you're right.
wrong?
No, you're right about the two people. But women actually initiate divorce like 75% of the time, or 80% of the
Right.
time.
Why is that bad? As a woman who has initiated divorce
Well,
multiple
you're
times.
breaking up families. You're breaking up
I didn't
families.
break up I
I
didn't
mean,
break up any
not
families. And why is that
no,
bad?
not you,
Also.
not you. I'm saying like the women who get divorced.
Right. So what's better for a woman to stay in an unhealthy marriage that she does not want to be in, that's not good for her? And we have studies to show how awful that is for children to also have to witness. What's worse, for her to stay in that just for kids, just so we can use this really interesting phrase of breaking up a family, which makes it sound so much more dramatic. Oh, we're actually transitioning out of something that was not working into something healthier. So, like, how do you determine what's happening? Are you breaking up a family or are you transitioning to a healthier situation because this situation is no longer serving the family?
Oh, the situation is no longer serving the family for sure. I mean, like
right. So then
divorce
is good.
No, divorce is bad. Definitely.
Why is divorce
because
bad?
the children are being affected, and there's also other reasons. I mean, when women get older,
children are affected? Do you think that children are affected by divorce, but not by bad relationships being played out in front of them?
Like, I think children at a very young age are traumatized by divorce. But
children
when they get older,
are traumatized by bad relationships too. Where relationships where they don't see positive, healthy communication and intimacy, like not intimacy, sex, intimacy, like hugging and whatever. Children who don't see that modeled, affection, who don't see that modeled in their homes have an extremely hard time being able to perform those actions later in life. Even when they're friendly and they have nothing to do with their romantic relationships, they have a hard time having those actions be a part of their life. And then later in life, when they get to their romantic relationships, it's almost impossible. So why would I put a child in a situation where I'm going to make their future so much harder? Because they have not seen a healthy relationship model.
You're advocating for people to just not get married, because that would be better.
No, I'm not. That's not what I said at all. I just think that when a man and a woman gets divorced, it does break up the family. And another thing too is that the divorce rates are the highest it's ever been throughout history.
Yeah, because yes, can I tell you why? It's because women actually have financial independence and they don't have to stay in marriages that are harmful to them anymore. So when I was in a marriage and it was really harmful for me,
how do you know?
Thankfully, I was able to leave.
I don't know why I did this over my sweatshirt like that. That was really stupid.
Sure, but how do you know that the women in the early 1900s were miserable in their marriage? Where's the evidence for that? Because I don't see it.
I have no idea. Maybe they weren't, and maybe men just were way better back then, and maybe they suck now, and that's why we're leaving them. I don't know. I have no idea.
So you don't know. Okay, so I mean, I'm proposing an idea. I do think that promiscuity is one of the reasons why women are leaving men. So,
just why is that bad?
Say more about that.
Well, put it this way. I mean, look at our current environment, like Instagram and Tinder and all these dating apps. I mean, you're it's basically like a global market. Women are able to find men anywhere in the world that they find attractive.
But most men can also find women anywhere in the world that they find attractive.
That's right, but most of those women are not. But most of those women are going after the top 10% of men. So what happens is it just ends with. Sorry?
Why shouldn't they? That just feels like the other men who are, for whatever reason,
well, first, I mean, so there's multiple problems to that. First off, they're not going to be in a relationship because you're going to have the top 10% of men can't be in a relationship with 90% of women, right? They're going to have to swap them out, basically. And what happens is women end up getting heartbroken. So if you have multiple women sleeping with fewer men, that means that most women are going to not be in a committed relationship with men.
First of all, I would love to see statistics showing this, because so far this is just trust me.
But it's just math.
But second of all, why is that bad? Why is that bad? It sounds like you're complaining that women are doing what they want to do.
Okay, so I mean, women are just going to sleep with a guy, and then he's not going to be in a committed relationship with her, and then she's just going to sleep with the next guy.
If she doesn't want to be, if she wants to,
so she's going to be alone all her life. She's not going to have a partner that can take care of her kids.
If she doesn't
want to tell you something. I love being single. I think it is so amazing. It's my biggest irritation with my boyfriend is that I love him, because it's I would just love to be single. Women like being alone. A lot of women actually love that. I have so many women friends who are happy to just have some situationships when they want, or maybe date somebody for a year, and they are very happy to be alone most of the time. They have their own house, they have a career, some of them have children. So can you tell me why? Basically, all I'm hearing from you is women are doing what they want, and I don't like it because it's not working out for me.
No,
Is there
no, I
another
gave you
argument
like
here?
I gave you. No, it's not because I don't like it. It's actually the well-being of women that are being impacted by
Do
this
you have
promiscuity culture.
do
You're
you
not worried about
have
the
any
well-being
data
of
to
women.
show? Yeah, do you have data that shows that they're being negatively impacted by their ability to choose?
It's. I mean, I don't have data on me. Like I've already told you the Bumble and I mean the Tinder statistics.
Yeah,
on
but
on how
that statistic
on
just
That's
says
not
that women are being more, and actually, if anything, it's showing that those women are more intentional and more specific about the people that, and choosy about the people that they want to spend their time with. And if I'm using your logic, it's honestly a little bit what's the word that you were using? It's a word that I hate that begins with a P. Promiscuous
promiscuity.
of these men to just, yeah, it's really promiscuous of them to have 90% swiping yes. Because are they even reading the profiles? Are they even looking at that person saying, this could be a wife? No, they're not. They're trying to get, as someone I know has said recently, they're Peter wet. That sounds
no, I
promiscuous
mean
to me.
I think you're denigrating men there like way too much. I mean,
I
I do
literally
think
used
men
your
do want to.
logic. I literally used
She's
exactly
using your
your
logic and turning it back on you.
and turned, yeah. I used exactly your logic.
Why? Because men swipe on most women. That's a bad thing.
You are saying that women are promiscuous and it's making women upset, and you're worried about the well-being of women. And then you also in the same breath are saying that they are only swiping right on 10% of the profiles that they see. So
Jake, is your complaint
how
that
is that
women aren't
possible?
swiping on? Do you
So
want women to swipe on more men? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like what's the solve here?
Well, here's the thing. Like first off, like women do want to sleep with the highest quality man available.
Why would they sleep with
what
low
does that
quality
even mean?
people? Why would
what does that even
no?
mean?
But the problem is
women want to sleep with
these men.
women want to sleep. Hey Jake, women want to sleep with the man they want to sleep with. That's it.
No, but the problem is, I'll tell you the problem. The problem is these men that they're sleeping with are not going to commit to them at all. And
but you're saying they're high value men or whatever. So why wouldn't they commit?
Yeah, they're high value men, and they have so many options because 90% are swiping right on them that they have no reason. Sorry?
Promiscuous, I fear. Because they have all of these options and they can. So actually, the problem is not the women. It's the men that don't want to commit. It's the.
No.
Okay, so then the rest of the 90. So then the rest of the 90%, the rest of the 90% should figure their shit out and figure out what the difference is. I'm confused about what you think.
Yeah, can you summarize your point in like one sentence for us? What are you trying to say here? Like women should swipe on more men, or women are too picky, or men are swiping on too many women? Can you just summarize for me in one sentence?
Women are swiping, women are all swiping the same guys, and those same guys are not committing to them, and they're sleeping with them because they have so many options. So women end up getting heartbroken because of this, because these guys cannot commit to them. And that is harmful for women in the long term.
Because that's their responsibility also. That's their responsibility. If they want to put themselves out there and they want to get heartbroken, they are grown women. They're grown people. They will, guess what? Get a therapist, which many of these high value, whatever the fuck men you're talking about, I guarantee don't. These women are going to get a therapist and they're going to figure it out and not make it everybody else's problem.
Okay, I mean that's fine. If you think that women should suffer because of it, I'm okay with that.
They're not suffering. They're having fun.
Women aren't suffering. Women are actually living their best lives when they get to do that. Where's your data on that? This is just your opinion, and you just sound like personally perturbed that women aren't picking from the bottom of the barrel, and you're using your own
No, I'm not
train of thought
perturbed. I
here.
mean, like it is what it is. I can't change what
Jake,
women choose to want to be with.
Let me give you your argument back to you. This is what you're saying. You're saying, I think it's wrong that women only want the guys that they deem as worthy to sleep with. I think they should pick from some of the guys that they don't really like. That's what you're saying.
No, but here's the problem. I'll tell you the problem. They're choosing these men thinking that they can get into a long-term relationship with them.
How do you know that they're thinking that?
And also, why do you think that they think that? Do you think it's maybe some of the things that the men are saying to them, perhaps?
I mean, why would like how is a woman gonna raise a child and
not every woman wants to raise a child, and not every woman, especially like when they're in their 20s or whatever, that's not a priority to everyone.
I think for most women it is, and like it might not be a priority for you, but I think most women it is. Like I think most women want to be in a committed relationship.
Show us your data. Show us your data for that. And also show me the data that shows that women aren't getting in committed relationships.
Mankind,
that's not
like
data.
Since the beginning of mankind.
Even if that's true that women want to have monogamous partners and they want to have kids, why shouldn't they go for people that they're interested in to be able to form that family later on? They have to go for people that they're not interested in.
Like a lot of these apps are very deceptive because they're showing women, okay, like here's this really hot guy, right? And a lot of women, like I said, they think they can actually start something with these men, but the guys end up just humping and dumping, right? And like a lot of guys have done.
Where are you getting this from? Where are you getting this from?
That's also, if that's true,
like,
that means that the guy is the one who is having sex with them and then getting rid of them, when a woman had, from this story, that when a woman had intentions of something else. So what is the solve for the woman? What's the solve for her? What is she supposed to do if she is only picking a selective
like a little bit?
That's it.
You want women to lower their standards. Thank you for admitting it. Holy shit.
Yeah, but I want women to lower their.
Why would they lower
so that
their
they
standards?
can actually get into a committed relationship with them?
Jake,
that's why.
You're advocating instead of, this is so fucked up, and I'm so glad you're revealing yourself on the internet, because you are advocating for women to lower their standards instead of for men to act and behave better. That is fucked up and disgusting.
No, but you have like 10% of guys. They're literally 10% of guys. They have all the women they can choose from.
It is fucked up and disgusting.
Why would those 10% of guys commit?
I'm going to mute you. I'm going to mute you because I'm in the middle of a sentence. It is fucked up and disgusting that you are advocating for women to lower their standards instead of advocating for these apparently 90% of men to not maybe get their shit together and act better. That is
also,
I don't even know how you've convinced yourself to do that.
You're also asking the women to lower their standards because the 10% upper echelon is treating them like garbage.
You're still talking?
How does that make sense? How does it make sense that they're going to lower their standards if the upper 10% didn't treat them right? That makes no sense. So I'm going to lower my standards. I'm going to shoot lower than the best of the best to hopefully get a better result. That doesn't make sense. The reason that this is like so insane to me is because by this whole if the world is the way that you're describing it, the actual solve is that these men need to figure out how to be monogamous. Not the women, not the promiscuous women, it's the promiscuous men. They're the ones who are pumping and dumping, like you said, or just picking everybody. And like, I'm shocked that you're not hearing it. I'm just baffled.
I'm going to take him off unmute now. If he's still talking, then I'm dropping the call. Let's see what's happening.
Okay, hello?
Yes, you're back on.
Okay, so I do think that these top tier guys should actually get into monogamous relationships with women. It's just that it's the reason why they don't is because they just have so many options not to, right?
So they should just fuck
So I
around
do
because
think
they
there is
have the
some.
option to fuck around. And also, these are these women that are picking 10%. 90% of the men are also swiping right on them. So they also have tons and tons of options because everyone's swiping on them, regardless of their quality.
No, but they're not swiping right. Women aren't swiping right back, so they're not actually matching with those guys.
Okay, I guess it
They're only
depends on the
swiping
app
right
that
on
you're
the 10%
using.
of guys. No, like pretty much every app out there is like that.
Well, I think on like it's been a while since I've been on an app, but I think on like Hinge you can maybe it's like a premium thing where you can see who already swiped on you. But anyways, doesn't really matter. Anyway, proceed.
But I mean, it is like we have to
Jake,
understand that it is in male nature to sleep with lots of women.
Nope.
To procreate, right?
Nope.
Sure it is.
No,
Like if you have like
no, listen to me.
if you have one guy,
it's also in our human nature that when we feel like our home is threatened to fucking kill each other, and it's still illegal. That we have the benefit of moral conscience. So men are not dragging their knuckles on the ground, swinging their dick at anything that moves. That's just not reality. And then you're giving them a free pass that they're allowed to just
I'm not giving them a free pass though. I'm
You
not. I'm
are,
just
though.
explaining like no, I'm not. I'm explaining how it is. I'm explaining like
It's not,
what the
but that's not
situation is.
reality. That's not true, Jake. It's not true. It's not true. And even if that were true, we're just supposed to allow men to
Wait, what's not true?
That men can't control their sexual
basically
urges.
anything
they can.
you've said tonight.
Well, they
Men
aren't.
have just as much ability to control their sexual urges as anyone else. Period.
I mean, I do think men like want to, have sex more than women do, but
you started this call saying
you're
that
right.
the
It's not an
women.
excuse. It's not an excuse.
You started this call saying that the women were being promiscuous, and now you're saying
But
that
they are.
But
they're sleeping with 10% of guys, and then you have 10% of guys who are also promiscuous.
They're sleeping with I'm sorry. They are swiping on 10% of people.
And sleeping with. I mean, let's be real. I mean, if you're swiping right on 10% of guys, you're most likely going to be hooking up with
Jake,
them.
maybe that's how you do the apps.
I don't know about that.
No,
maybe that's how you do the apps, babe. That's not how that works.
You need to bring data for us. Here's my problem that I'm still hung up on, and why I don't even know why we kept you on the call. You presented a case basically saying that that women are being made victims, and instead of advocating for men to treat them better, you're advocating for women to lower their standards so that they're okay with being in shittier or being in relationships with people that they don't want to fucking be with. And that is,
I don't know why you're putting words in my mouth.
That's literally what you said.
I'm saying
I don't have to do it. We can go back and watch the call. That is what you said. So you said women should lower their standards. We can have a clip.
Wait, can I talk
Somebody
for a
should get the clip and add it in here. And you said women need to lower their standards.
Yes, I do think. Okay, just hear me out. I do think women need to lower their standards, but I also think those top 10% of guys who are being promiscuous should also commit to women as well, right? Like I'm advocating for responsibility on both sides.
Responsibility. Women should, if anything, all that you've made it clear here is that women should raise their standards. That we shouldn't even be fucking the 10% of guys on these apps.
If you want to sleep with like top tier guys and fuck around, like I don't care. Like you're more than welcome to. Like there's so many apps out there.
Top tier is crazy.
Yeah.
I also people are allowed to enjoy any sexual relation. You're gonna love. Actually, Jake, do you want to know something that's a fact, a scientific fact that you're gonna fucking hate? There is no biological difference between a woman's body that has had sex and has not had sex. There is no biological difference.
What do you mean by biological?
You can do
the definition of the word biological.
You can do a full exam on a woman who has had sex and a full exam on a woman who has not, and their bodies you will not be able to tell the difference.
Okay, but like mentally they're not the same.
Why would they mentally not be the same?
How can you thought police that?
Because
I feel like
because the more promiscuous women are, the less likely they're able to stay in a committed relationship.
But you are the one saying that men are being promiscuous.
That's not even true.
It's not true. And also, you're saying men are promiscuous.
There's studies on it.
It's not true.
Send us the studies. So, Jake, I'm tempted. Part of me wants to ban you because this call is so disturbing. But also, I would love for you to actually follow through with the data. So if you're going to call a call-in show to make an argument, it really helps if you have things to back your argument other than trust me, bro. Please call back next week. It's like almost 4 a.m. here. So I'm ready to move on with this call. And you kind of lost me the second you said women should lower their standards. I don't think any human should lower their standards. And I definitely don't think women on dating apps should lower their standards either. So I'm going to let you go. If you want to call back with the data that you say that there is, I would love to hear it so that you can back that up. But otherwise, I think we're all good here.
Okay.
Bye, Jake.
Take care.
Bye, Jake.
Ugh.
On the bright side, I'm gonna have a really fun.
Fell over.
Oh God, your lamp is like I'm exhausted.
I'm done. Yeah,
that was crazy. On the bright side, I'm gonna have a really good social clip for us this week.
That's great. That was infuriating.
That was infuriating.
I can't do it. Should we go to super chats?
Yeah.
Before we have to pass out. Okay, yes. Amazing. $5 from Skeptoidius. I don't want to sound braggadocious, except I totally do. It's a cool 80 degrees here in South Central Wisconsin. That's amazing.
Lovely.
It's cold here. It's been like 60.
Oof, I'm jealous.
Here every day and kind of rainy. So
that's my favorite kind of weather. You're living in my favorite weather. $5 from the Raven 200. Everyone make sure to consensually run a train on that like button. The like button is ready for all of you. Winky. Jimmy, go take a jaded from Jade Cargill. I don't know what that means. But okay. And thank you for your support on the show, the Raven 200. Oh, I'm Morgan? No. Okay.
$5 from William. Oh, was it Mattis?
Mattis.
Is that what we said?
Mattis.
Never shut up. Never shut up and take my money. You two are wonderful and awesome and beautiful and just the best. Kick patriarchy and its tiny, tiny balls. Thank you, William.
Well, if they're
don't worry,
tiny,
we're not shutting up.
Like this. That's how I felt on that call with Jake, flicking his stupid tiny balls. So annoying. $5 for Monkey, a typewriter. Eve, here's the question. You doing a vinyl release, and what's it going to take for me to get a signed copy so I can be like, I was a fan earlier?
Aw, that's so kind of you. You know, we're talking about it. We'll see. I'm excited about this album. It's very, it's a concept record, and we're using, obviously, the inspiration of being here. So the whole thing is going to be pretty cohesive, and I hope artistic. So it would be cool to have an actual vinyl. And there are some, I'm not going to be like announcing this over where we actually talk like on our music stuff, but I'll share it here. The theme is very like ex-evangelical, anti-purity culture, all of that. So it's relevant. However, I have hidden it behind metaphors. So you guys just get to have the N.
I can't wait.
$5 from William again. You two should listen to The Sad Sad Alpha Man. It's a wonderful song. I'm writing this down. It sounds like a great song. Oh, wait. Is it that guy on TikTok? Because I think I did hear it and I loved that. I know what you're talking about and I love it. And Alyssa should go hear it.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up. Wait. Okay. $5 for Monkey, a typewriter. Something on my mind of late. Difference between a dog and a man. Dogs become less likely to attack you the longer you care for them. Dogs over men. I mean, I always prefer my dogs over pretty much any man.
Yep.
They're the best.
I prefer dogs over humans in general, so.
Yeah, I agree.
$4.99 from Sarah Wilson. I compare the problem of corn to action movies. It's fine for action movies to be unrealistic because they're fantasies, not education for gun safety. Yes, I love that. That's a great way to put
analogy.
That. So good. Alyssa, you should use that.
That's great. I'm going to, Sarah. That's great. I love
Alyssa
that.
and Sarah Wilson collab.
So
yes.
correct. Yes. So correct. $10 from Ericpedia. Look, mono, poly, doesn't matter. What saves relationships is separate bedrooms, cleaning up your own personal space so you can invite your lifelong partner over and impress them. So effing hot. I think that is going to be such a big thing in the next like 5 to 10 years where people have separate living spaces. I feel like, so there's, I've talked about this woman's book before. My mom's actually reading it. And it's called The Sex You Want. And she and her partner have separate homes. And part of like, I think what's exciting about that for them and like what makes their relationship work is that like cleaning up your personal space, you can invite them over. Like you never really lose the essence of date night. Yeah. Like I love that. I love that idea.
That's cute. I think my problem is my partner and I love cuddling so much that we can't sleep without that. But I do think it's like a rare compatibility because I have not experienced that in past relationships to where we're like exactly the right sizes and bones are like stabbing each other. And like that sounds really dirty. I don't mean it like that. But like we're able to cuddle so perfectly that it's like how I prefer to sleep. So I don't know. I think it can go both ways. $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. Jake, 90% of women sleep with 10% of men. That's the problem. Anyone want to take bets on whether or not Jake thinks he's in the 10%? I almost asked that question, actually, but I was trying not to just be like super mean. It's just like, not a good conversation.
Yeah.
Sorry, this one's you.
I don't know what CHF is. I feel like I always am so bad at this.
That's
but
cool,
5
though.
Of those. Yeah, I'm going to look it up. Dear men, women can think and do stuff and gouge eyes and learn about poison for no particular reason other than they want to. Massive. I don't know if I know what that means. I don't know if I get it.
But thank you for the 5 CHF.
Oh, that's a Swiss franc.
CHF
is a Swiss franc. Okay, cool.
$5 from Jonathan. Women only want high-quality men, i.e. AAA, high-grade, free range, at least 5 acres to roam.
Marbled. I want them marbled by the time they get to me.
Grass-fed. Absolutely. God. Oh, the terminology throughout that entire call, I was trying not to just focus on that because that alone was pissing me off. Like high quality, top tier, whatever. Like just be a decent human being.
High quality and top tier is so gross. And it's also like it's always funny to use that same verbiage against them to be like, okay, well then why don't you want to be a high tier, top quality man then?
Right.
Why should I settle for that for less? If that's so important to you and that's something that you feel is so measurable, you weirdo.
It's
$5 from
I'm sad that
sorry, go ahead.
I'm sad that my patience was wearing thin because probably the late hour and just like the absurdity of some of the things being said in that call because I do feel bad for men like Jake because they are fed a narrative by the Andrew Tates and whoever of this world. And then maybe their personal experiences back that up so that they're like, oh, it is true. Wow. And this is how it is. And then they just suddenly adopt this entire worldview that's super toxic and becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's fucked up. And maybe if I was in a better head space, I could have like been more patient and kind in that conversation. And maybe he'll call back and I will be. But also something has to be said about telling women to lower their standards. So anyway, sorry. Continue.
Hopefully he'll call back with a little more. I would love if he found even one study that supported what he was saying, aside from the Tinder one, because that's $5 from Skeptoideus, the Book of Jake, Chapter 1, Whammon, No Sleep with Me. Women don't sleep with me. Yeah, literally. These are the vibes I'm getting from him. I kind of was getting that vibe. And it also, like, if that's the case, then yeah, it is like upsetting because then he found like an echo chamber of people saying what he wants to hear, even though like it's gonna lead him to a lot less authentic relationships and authentic growth for him. Like he could grow and expand and maybe learn some things about how to like better communicate with the women around him that might help him. I don't know, more than what that BS that he was spewing.
Ugh, rough. $5 from William again. Thanks so much, William. Jake, the sad alpha man is about you. You know what? I'm going to be hopeful and say it is a warning for Jake to not become that. I have hope.
Yeah.
We'll see, though. Thanks, William.
Oh my gosh, $49.99. That is so nice and so generous. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's really nice. From Narrative Dude. I continue to be impressed by the both of you. Your interrogative skills are a powerful asset for all of us. I sincerely hope the two of you collaborate on a book or a documentary on one of these topics. Truly superior and the best show on the line. That's so nice.
Thank you. Okay, how fun would it be to collab on like a book or something someday?
Oh yeah, I don't have an idea for a book, but if you ever have one.
Me either. If we keep doing these shows, we'll have some ideas.
We need an idea for a book, but that was so nice and so generous. Thank you so much.
We still haven't, I don't know if you guys realize this. Alyssa and I have not even hung out in person yet, still.
Yeah, isn't that
which
crazy?
Is great. It's actually weird to me. Also, we don't even it's not like we're talking all the time every day. We just naturally have this amazing chemistry to where we enjoy each other and we have so much in common and enjoy talking so much. I don't know. I think it's really cool. Shout out to Jimmy for matchmaking us, but
he called it too, like from the start. He was like, you guys are going to be best friends. I already know.
I remember being on the phone with him and him telling me about you. And I was like, okay, cool. I trust you. And then I was like, wait, I love her.
Wait, and also like I was fully a fan too before. So like when he was like, oh, I have this, and I was like, I know who that is. Are you kidding me?
Oh, that's so sweet. I love it.
From a fan to a friend.
Look at us. I know. I feel like I had even like reposted your stuff like years ago or something. I don't know.
Could be.
We're so cute. It's like fan fiction of Alyssa and Eve. $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. If I viewed women like Jake does, you wouldn't be able to get that opinion out of me with waterboarding. Jake makes me sad to share sex with him. Yeah. That's why, honestly, that's actually why I have hope for him and why I like backed off now that I'm not in the heat of the moment and saying like, I hope that he comes around because I do feel bad because if you're willing to announce your bullshit like that, and I didn't hear animosity from him in it, actually, like we've had way more disrespectful caller. He wasn't being disrespectful to us, just like towards the general group of all women ever. But I do think it's like a complete lack of self-awareness and having conflicting information or having information that then lines up with your own personal experiences and thinking that means all women are like that or something. So anyways, it's a bummer. It is a bummer.
$4.99 from Coffee Mom. Men allow hot men to abuse women as a punishment for not choosing them instead. It's both a reason and an excuse to withhold protection. Women allow. Wait, I need to like I read that without like using my brain. I just like said it. I don't know how it. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's unfortunate, and it's interesting, like to think about the dynamic between men, like between each other, and like viewing this like high value, low value, whatever, all of that stuff, and how, like it's just interesting. How they do that.
Yep. Very. Thanks, Coffee Mom. $10 from Mike B. Fuck the patriarchy. I'm having all kinds of feels that I wouldn't be having if only I wasn't raised in a society that expected me to marry and raise a family.
Yeah. It's hurtful. It's hurtful that that's like such a strong accusation, or not accusation, expectation for people. And, it's just a lot. So as much as it's interesting that Jake had like such a intense view on that, because like at the same time, like it can be really stressful and hurtful to like have that expectation and not feel like you're living up to it by whatever age society thought you were going to. Oh, this is also $5 from Mike B. Jake, improve yourself, motherfucker. Raise your own bar. That's period.
Yeah, pretty much. That's yep.
Yeah. Facts.
Thanks, Mike. Do we have another one?
I feel like we do. We were getting a lot of
Did you not read this one?
Oh, we read
did.
that one.
Thank you. $5 from Nexux. I hope I said that right. Thanks for the show. Y'all keep me entertained while watching my machines run at work. Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. This is a terrible channel. Thanks so much.
That's funny.
Maybe Amargan is tired too tonight.
This is later than we've gone in a minute. $5 from SJL. Oh, that's funny how they did that. Well, Jake inspired some super chats at least. Yep, certainly did.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank you, Jake.
Thank you. $9.99 from Jason. Love the way you two handled Jake. A masterclass in incel management. #DATH. Don't apologize to him.
Also, Jason, you're always so active in the chat too. I appreciate you so much. And in super chats too, but like I always see your name pop up and it's just nice. I feel like when I see his name pop up, he's one of the people where I'm like, I'm my friend.
Oh, I love that. I need to get better at paying attention to the chat.
Yeah. It's hard to balance because you don't want to be like not being engaged in what's like the conversation is, but it's nice to also keep an eye. But $5 from Mahalia Iaga. I think that's right. Jake is a sad dick energy in human form.
I hope that he can reflect on some of this. $5 from Chris. Who hurt Jake? Maybe his data was a personal experience, but was too ashamed to share. #don't apologize to him. Yeah, that's kind of my suspicion. So, yeah. We'll see. Maybe he'll call in with some studies about how women just their standards are so high that we're forcing men to harm us. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. $10 from Deterministic Atheos. Is that right?
I think so.
The opposite of patriarchy is no better, but is that just me? Feels like a bigger question than we have time for.
Yeah, what's the opposite of patriarchy and all that? Call in with that next week. That's a good one. It's 4 a.m., so my brain is like not even reading words right now. But thank you for the $10.
Yes.
Oh, this is me. Sorry. $10 from I Got Cookies. Hi, chat. I'm lurking. Jake is what is called an incel, involuntary celibate. Too much to get into. Basically, he's the lower standard that he thinks women should want. I mean, we can't know for sure. Maybe Jake is actually just like swimming in 90% of women right now, and he's just really looking out for the other dudes. Who knows? But I do agree that his rhetoric is the same of the incel variety. So that's concern. And that's why I was like getting really frustrated in the call.
Yeah. Anyways. Someone in the
but thank you.
In the chat someone in the chat said his argument, it's Sparrow the Sissy, said that his argument really was that women are too picky and men are too terrible, so women need to pick worse men. And I can't get over how little
that was
sense
the argument. That's when as soon as he said that, I was so thankful that you got him to say it. He just put it out there. But anyways, thanks.
That was crazy. Yeah, that was crazy. $5 from Alyssa. I always
when
every time I see, because that's like a common enough last name, and every time I see it, I'm like, I know this. I'm sorry. I'm starting to feel displaced Just kidding. Oh, is it because we have the same name? No, you're still
Love
a very
it.
important Alyssa to this show.
Of course, always. And thank you for the support.
Yes. Thank you.
$10 from Courtney Lord. Some people think with their Bibles instead of their brains. I was thinking about how whack that is because it isn't just thinking with your dick, it's thinking with some other dude's dick from 2,000 years ago. Yep. Oh, man. That's a great argument against purity culture right there. You're thinking with a 2,000-year-old dick of some other dude.
I love it.
That's a good one, Courtney.
It.
Thanks, Courtney.
That's amazing. That's amazing. $10 from Melissa R. This is my first time watching this show. I need to go back and watch past episodes because I'm very interested. Wow.
I'm so glad that you hung out with us and enjoyed it.
Yeah, you got a good one because I think we got a good balance of like people who disagreed with us, but we had like a nice back and forth, and also people that we disagreed with and we got a little bit wound up with.
There's a couple of episodes that are solid that go, what do you call it? Canon? That would be like chewed gum canon at this point. Like the don't apologize to him. And what else? The no makeup one. There's some good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go have fun binging. It's great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Melissa. $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. No sleep and no play make Eve a dull girl. No sleep and no play make Eve a dull girl. No sleep and no play make Eve. No! I'm just reading it over and over again. Yeah, it is. Really, it's going to just make me so tired. I mean, the sunrise is stunning. So that's going to be fun to go out to right now.
God. $9.99 from Jamnik06. In chat today, I learned that I can still have big dick energy even with my tiny balls. Thanks for the boost of confidence. Love this show and community. Looking forward to the album Eve. Thank you for the support.
Thanks so much. I love this community too so much. $5 from Ericapedia. Incelerate. Side note, if hashtag DATH isn't on a t-shirt by next week, I'm rioting. Okay. We have to text Jimmy and be like, we're making this happen.
I'm texting him literally right now in our group chat.
Yes. Alyssa makes it happen. Oh, and now we're back.
I don't make any. No one listens to me.
Faces. That's not
Hello.
true. I listen to you. Thank you guys so much for thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for dealing with my tired brain. We will be back next Tuesday. And that will be one of my last episodes for a few weeks. So please come hang out while I can. Spoiler, I also will be on Sunday show again soon. Not this Sunday, but you'll hear about it soon. Love you guys. Thank you so much to Morgan, our amazing producer. And thank you to everybody in the chat. Y'all are the best. Hope you guys have a great evening.
I can't wait to clip this episode.
And thanks to the screeners. Oh yeah, please send me the clip. Really excited.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Get some sleep, girl.